All right, folks. Boy, oh boy, are we going to have a session tonight, February 21st, 2024. And we're talking about XRP damages worth $500 billion. Before everybody freaks out, before they come in and say this is clickbait, we are going to use conservative assumptions and simple math to make a point, to show a story about the damages done to the XRP community. And I'm going to, like I said, conservative assumptions, basic math. Let's keep it simple, stupid. And in tonight's episode here, we're going to break this whole situation down, starting off with the mania that is taking place in the stock market. Obviously, NVIDIA setting things off here today. We were all waiting for it. The whole world was waiting for that earnings call from NVIDIA. We got it. It blew out the Wall Street expectations, and they continue to pump it back up. So we're going to start there. We're going to make our way through all the current events, and then we're going to get into the cryptocurrency opportunity. Got a couple new data points, breaking news actually within the last hour, confirming that we have another ETF, and this one's going to be a basket ETF that's being filed by Grayscale. And so this is breaking within the last hour. I wanted to come here tonight because I got so much to cover. We're going to go through it rather quickly, but I just want to say everything's at my website, zachrector.com. I appreciate all the support. And as always, for sharing our content, smashing the thumbs up, and for just, being here every single day as we try to be consistent, showing up every single day for you guys. I know that you guys have been showing massive support. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's get right on into today's episode. NVIDIA pumping it back up. You guys can see right here, NVIDIA surges after AI sales boom shows no signs of letting up. Here we go. Company's results and forecast trounce Wall Street estimates, with the company remaining the biggest beneficiary of AI spending spree. So the data points here are pretty incredible. Right on into it from the Kobesi letter with the summary. NVIDIA says demand still far exceeds supply for its products. Conditions are excellent for continued growth into 2025. NVIDIA spent $9.2 billion in cash on share buybacks. And this is what I find so interesting. You do have significant share buybacks that are taking place right now. And we're seeing this, companies like Ripple as well. They just bought back more of their shares at a $11 billion valuation. I'm telling you guys right now, this crypto space is the most exciting opportunity for us. But even today's stock market, the behavior is something that we've never seen before. I'm going to show you guys the NVIDIA chart here in a second. But this is truly unprecedented. Data center revenue of $18.4 billion is a new record and above expectations. And NVIDIA has not received licenses to ship restricted chips to China yet. Started to ship alternatives to China market in small volumes. NVIDIA crushed already high expectations. Now, this is what we've been talking about, right, folks? Where are we at? We're in the same place that we were, great financial crisis, dot-com bubble, 87 stock market crash. You can take it all the way back to the Great Depression, and you can put the S&P 500 in 1929 and right now, today's market, 94% correlation. I'm not just saying this. I don't just throw these things out here I know people like to say that it's just hype, sensationalism, clickbait. Well, I get excited. I am guilty of getting excited about unprecedented market activity, but then also sounding the alarm about how a day of correction is coming. Maybe it won't be the day of reckoning that I worry about, but it's going to be a correction. Take a look at this example right here. Would you buy this stock? $100 billion in revenue, a leader in the hottest tech segment out there, named most innovative company in the world by Fortune for 6 years in a row. Celebrity CEO and founder, 125% stock price appreciation in 6 months. If you said yes, you just bought Enron in June of 2000. Hashtag NVIDIA. Now, let's take a look at the charts here, and you guys can see this thing trading like a meme coin, but we are looking at NVIDIA stock right now. And you can see that it crashed all the way down here to $644 per share. And then it pumped after market. Excuse me. Gosh. After the market closed, this thing rallied. And then it continued up here all the way to about $745 per share. and it's at 735 right now. After hours trading is all that's happening, and we're going to have to wait until the market opens back up tomorrow to see if it can keep this going. This is right. We're seeing so many indicators that form right before a bubble goes burst, And so for me, yeah, I'm happy that the folks playing the stock market, that Americans' 401ks and retirement accounts have gone up in notional paper value. But let's, take a look at other opportunities. And I'm not saying cash out the whole thing. In fact, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. I'm just going to tell you that I'm passing, gladly passing on what I believe is way too much risk for, yes, considerable reward. But if we are going to go risk on, we've been making a killing in the digital asset space. We've become kind of numb to returns that Wall Street would, everybody would be getting bonuses and going crazy for the 20, 30% gains. I mean, that's incredible on Wall Street. And we're talking and chasing 10x and 100x on crypto. Now, for me, I'm just looking for fundamental value, and I'm looking at a shift, right, from equities back into commodities. And I include crypto commodities in my thesis that we're entering and we're beginning a commodity super cycle, right? Now, let's continue on here, folks. This is the situation at hand, and this is why the warning alarm bells are going off for me. Many people don't even understand what a bond is. Most people have no idea where their 401k's at. Most folks just, are too busy watching the Kardashians or whatever the show is these days. I don't know. No one wants to hear about bonds. It's not sexy like crypto. But this is unbelievable. When you actually get into this and you understand what's taking place, folks, this is unprecedented action that we just saw in the stocks. Crypto's crazy. But we also have a bond market that's absolutely going nuts right now. Look at this one, folks. Another spicy Treasury auction, this time in the 20-year, from James Lavish. The tail was 3.3 bips, largest on record for the 20-year. This is the largest tail ever, folks. Foreign bidders dropped to under 60% from 74% in November. The foreign buyers are not coming to bail out the U.S. government and our Treasury. And dealers were saddled with 21% of the auction, double from November. In one word, ugly. The tail is the difference between where the auction starts at and where it finishes at. And they're trying to do some of the largest, they're actually going to do the largest Treasury auction ever coming up in April. But this was another one here, and we saw the largest tail on record for the 20-year. And what does that mean? In simple terms, nobody wants to do a deal with the devil, is what I call it, right? That's the U.S. government. Nobody wants to loan money to the U.S. government for 20 years or for 30 years. You were hearing how Warren the Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, he's sitting on 147 billion cash, and of course he's rolling over short-term T-bills. These are short duration. These are, less than 3 months. These are very short T-bills, 3, 6 months, and even shorter. Meanwhile, nobody's showing up. Not Warren Buffett, not foreign buyers. And who's having to buy it and clear it out? It's the dealers. And ultimately what you've seen is it's the Fed comes in, and now they've grown their balance sheet. Remember, the Fed's balance sheet ballooned up to almost 10 trillion. They're trying to offload it, do quantitative tightening. And I laughed. You guys remember when I laughed at that? And I said, who the hell is going to be the buyers? Well, people have been buying short-term duration, and now Wall Street's willing to go a little bit longer down the curve, talking about 3, 4, 5 years. Nobody wants a 20-year deal, right? And so this is unprecedented. As I said, we're going to have to continue to watch this. And I wonder why people aren't expecting us to be able to pay back our debts when we have this taking place. This one reporting here from MarketWatch, my apologies. Biden administration is canceling $1.2 billion in student loan debt for 153,000 borrowers. So Biden is buying more votes. That's what this is, in my opinion. This isn't political. This is just, that's what that is. Buying votes is simply what that is. Trying to get a younger generation and basically showing them, if you side with us, what it really is, you get to live like a peasant. Essentially, we're killing and gutting out the middle class and any real value and opportunity in this country, but you can be a wage slave, you can be poor, you can own no assets and be a nice little guy who's plugged into the matrix and live happily ever after with a fake AI girlfriend. That's the reality. Yeah, we're going to forgive your student loan debt, but that's what their program is on the back end. So the kids get to see, oh, my student loan gets forgiven. What does that mean on the back end? Go watch Ready Player One, and that's a documentary for their agenda in future. Living in a little single wide, not even a single wide trailer. There's some nice, I like, there's some nice manufactured homes being pumped out these days. But you live in a little shack stacked on top of each other in the Ready Player One goggle vision, whatever it is. Google vision, goggle vision, all the same thing. But you get your student loan forgiven, but you don't have to work. You get your UBI check as long as you stay in line. And this is why anybody who has common sense, especially people with money, with common sense, are not making this bet. They're not doing this deal with the devil. And, we're going to loan you money for 20 years, 30 years? Are you kidding me? No, thank you. Especially when we read the Fed minutes, which also came out here today. So a big day for data points. Obviously, NVIDIA shook the whole stock market. And then the Fed minutes also giving us additional insight that first off, the Fed officials believe that rates are likely at their peak, meaning they're done raising, right? Likely at their peak. They're done raising. Most officials note that risks of cutting rates too quickly, though. So they want to maintain this pause for as long as possible. That's the goal right now. More progress toward 2% inflation needed before rate cuts. Yeah, we've already seen inflation tick back up. The prior month, this month, the reading that we just got was back down to 3.1, but we're still a long ways. Still a very long ways from their 2% target. Fed remains highly attentive to inflation risks. Well, of course. Some officials warned of downside risks and overly restrictive policy. Of course. We were having the best time of our lives with 0% interest rates. Don't pay your mortgage. Don't pay your student loan. And now they're trying to keep it, going. And they're trying to keep this thing alive, right? While trying to make people come back and start paying. You're seeing that the students are protesting. They're not even paying their debt. So we might as well write it off. They don't got it anyway. They don't got it anyways. A lot of these kids, go to school, get a job. Massive layoffs. We've already highlighted 40,000 layoffs so far this month, folks. These data points are not pretty. You can live in the AI vision goggles all day long, but when you go out here in reality, you're talking carnage, blood in the streets. Now, some officials see risks of inflation progress stalling, meaning inflation's coming back up, right? They're not making any more progress. And as we noted, last month's reading ticked back up from 3.2 to 3.4. Higher for longer seems to be returning. Well, higher for longer had to be the deal because they didn't raise rates enough in the first place, I don't think, to kill this thing. The tough part that they got is they got rates and then they got money printing. And so we're still filling out the impacts. We're still seeing where all the money goes after the Fed just printed $5 trillion, took their balance sheet to $10 trillion, and everybody got a free pass. Everybody got a free ride. We're still figuring out, is the value in NVIDIA, in the Magnificent Seven? Is it in commodities? Barely seen those wake up. We've seen some of them starting to move. We see crypto starting to move, right? And so the value's still searching, and people are trying to save as much as possible. Everybody who can is trying to save as much as possible right now. And the difficulty is inflation isn't going away. And when you do save it up, then you have to find an investment opportunity, and everybody's chasing high yields, risky returns, green fat candles, and everybody's an investor now and a trader and a deal maker, right? Which, we want to implement a program that will take us through to the other side successfully doing those things. But I think that everybody thinks that it's still a participation trophy economy is what I always bring it back to, right? It's not the case. When everybody who operated a business and had debt was used to debt being, half the price that we're at right now. This is a different ball game. We're playing by a different set of rules. And what we continue to highlight is the countries outside the U.S., they're not waiting around for the United States. They're accelerating the progress. And let me make a point real quick to clarify. This is going to sound silly to some. We're talking about Sri Lanka exporting and trading with tea. We're talking about real barter right now between commodities. And people are going to think this is silly business. Sri Lanka, tea, what the heck are you even talking about, Zach? This is the start, and they're doing it without even having to use DLT technology. So while we talk about how DLT technology is going to only enable, accelerate, and we're talking about exponential growth for this type of trade activity, moving to a neutral, bridge currency DLT environment, they're already starting without it, just by delivering commodity for commodity, trading the commodity straight across, right? And this is Sri Lanka says it exported tea worth $20 million to Iran to partially repay its $251 million oil debts. Commodity bartering. Expect more of this. And then even last week, Iran announced $700 million Persian Gulf Bridge project funded by oil barter. So these countries are still chugging along. Swiss gold exports surged in January to their highest level in 6 years. And we've seen that for the last 15 months, China's been a net buyer. Before that, they just didn't report. And we can expect that the report that they are giving us is a lie. That's how they've been operating as far as their commodity and in particular, their gold holdings, but they also lie about their overall economy as well, which is now collapsed by 40-50%, their stock market has, and now the market's already made rebounds after their central bank basically pivoted, came in with a backstop. And now China's stock market has risen back up and it's in the green on the year. It's wiped out all the year's losses. So the central banks stand ready to cover. As I keep on saying, something's going to break and then they're going to open back up Powell's Pandora's box. What's the world moving to, right? And what's going to happen in that environment when we print trillions more? It's very simple, right? Gold finally broke out to all-time high. Silver still needs to play catch up, and you're seeing a Bitcoin at a 69,000 set to probably go break 100,000 this bull run. You're looking at an overall cryptocurrency market cap that's about to grow from 3 trillion to 5-6 trillion, in my humble opinion. And if you guys need to get precious metals, you already know the deal. Got to mention it and make sure everybody knows that we have community resources available at my website, zachrector.com. 401k retirement accounts, we can make sure it qualifies and send it over that way. Or if you want it delivered directly to your door, we can get it done as well. And I just encourage folks to start to understand and research in the commodity sector, whether you want to stack the metals or you want to look at equity companies in the space as well. The interesting opportunity, I believe, stands when you look at the equity to commodity ratio. It's set to just even correct, right? It doesn't even have to swing back the full way, right? But it just has to correct a little bit, and you're talking about really significant upside opportunity. Now, into the cryptocurrency update, folks. Grayscale filing for a privacy ETF. This is what we've been talking about. As Brad Garlinghouse said in the interview yesterday, you're going to see more ETFs. It's inevitable. You're going to see XRP ETFs. You're going to see BlackRock. You guys realize that BlackRock already has 4 or 5 gold ETFs. And most of them just track the underlying commodity. And they have one of them that's in the equities. It's in miners and producers. So they already have 4 or 5 ETFs for gold alone, not to mention what they have for silver, not to mention what they have in other commodity baskets. I'm sure they have others. But as Brad said, you're going to see basket ETFs, and that's what we're seeing here today, folks. This is breaking within the last hour. Grayscale files for privacy ETF, index-based, and would track companies involved in data security and protection, cybersecurity products and services, including blockchain-based technology solutions, etc. Would also hold Grayscale Zcash Trust. So their bag of Zcash they would include in this. In my opinion, smart move for Grayscale to expand ETF lineup. Well, that's stating the obvious, right? Of course, this is the rush that we're about to see, guys. We're so past what this is so obvious. Smart move. No, they're late, and now a rush is going to be coming. and they've been waiting for clarity. As we're going to be talking about in tonight's episode, nobody can operate in digital assets in the United States of America freely with an understanding that they're clearly not in violation of any law, or that the SEC and Gary Gensler isn't going to get a hair up there, you know what, and just decide to sue them for no reason. Just like we've seen in the debt box case. I'm not just saying this. Go look at the debt box case and look at the judge now considering sanctioning the SEC lawyers. And speaking on SEC lawyers, I got more on that later in this episode. You're not going to believe this, folks. Now, let's take a look at it, folks. This is an announcement that came out from Flare here today. This is massive, and I'm super impressed with Flare right here. This is XDFi, the world's first compliant decentralized futures protocol. So, the first compliant decentralized futures protocol, the ability to trade futures in a compliant way on the Flare network. That is what we're looking at right here, folks. And let me zoom in on that for you guys right there. This is the important part. Look at this. With initial support for Bitcoin and Ethereum futures contracts, the protocol will soon expand to other FTSO-enabled digital assets, including XRP and Doge. So we will be able to trade XRP futures here on this platform, as well as traditional commodities, including crude oil, gold, natural gas, corn, copper, silver, and others. So we will be able to actually bet on commodity futures using this platform built on Flare, the world's first compliant decentralized futures protocol. Flare has announced a partnership with Syndrix Solutions to launch XDFi, a new decentralized futures protocol created by Wall Street veterans. XDFi aims to raise industry standards for compliance and efficiency, delivering a trustless, non-custodial futures contract purchasing environment that operates 24/7, folks. Huge shout out to the Flare community. God bless them. They just kept on building. Despite all the FUD, despite the coin being down, they kept on building. I love to see it. Now, as we're going to get into here, XRP damages worth $500 billion. We're almost there. But before we got to get there, I'm going to highlight John Deaton's law firm, Crypto Law US. Staying right over the target. Check it out here, folks. Huge shout out to John Deaton for this Senate run. We stand behind you, John, all the way. The top SEC government anti-crypto attorney who played a role in many of the commission's disastrous motions and hearings in the Ripple case. Remember the attorney-client privilege argument to hide the Hinman documents? And God bless all of you guys that were on that call. God bless the XRP army literally crashing the phone lines for the court because we were all calling in. Thousands of people were calling in to listen in on the SEC versus Ripple case. You don't think that sent a message to Judge Torres and the SEC? And where is this attorney lawyer going? Well, she is defected to a Wall Street law firm. Now says that crypto is here to stay. Oh, really? Oh, really? So we represent SEC in the most embarrassing fashion. On behalf of our government, on behalf of the SEC, on behalf of the law inside of the United States of America, it was an utter embarrassment to hear that defense on the Hinman email documents. It was absolutely shameful on behalf of the SEC. Where do we go next? Of course, we go to Wall Street so that we can keep that just one phone call away when we need to get a deal done, right? And this is how the game works. I'm not going to sit around and complain about it without putting up a fight, which is why we stand behind John Deaton, which is why we're going to have the conversation that we're having tonight about the damages done to the XRP community, the XRP ledger ecosystem. We're going to talk about that, how the actions of the SEC and agency in the United States of America have sent, let's say, ripple effects across the entire world. Damages have been felt across the entire world. This is an XRP ledger ecosystem. People want money for projects. People want deals. It's hard to get VCs to invest in the XRPL. That's a lie. It's just there's not clarity, okay? And 99% of the crap that's being built on the XRPL is crap. Just like the rest of the crypto space. The one to, let's be generous, 5-10% of the space that's building legitimate utility has money flowing into it at levels that we haven't seen. I.e., we've grown the space to $3 trillion before the Wall Street ETFs even came. How high do we go next? Remember, gold and silver after their ETFs did a 5 and 10x. How high are digital assets about to go? in my opinion, more than 10x. Now, is it going to be this bull run? No. It's over the period of 10 years plus. But this is the shameful embarrassment activity that we continue to see at the SEC. But why do they have no shame? Because they just go get the job at Wall Street, the Wall Street white shoe law firm, and you call it and you set your sail, and it's all good. And to me, this is the problem, is that these folks are starting to realize that we got good guys and gals in law that outnumber, and the people that stand for law and order in this country outnumber this crap. And that's from the SEC and every other three-letter agency that has been weaponized against the American people. And see, we caught you all. At least we caught a lot of it. And we're continuing to apply pressure now in the U.S. court of law. And we're not going to be letting up anytime soon, by the way. Folks, I appreciate everyone for stopping by here tonight. Let's get right on into tonight's topic. And we're talking about the damages done to the XRP community. The inspiration for this video, because I've had this video ready to go. I've been marinating on this one. I wanted to wait till we were all ready. And now we're about to get into it because I was inspired by these tweets right here from my good friend, Jimmy Valley. Take a look at this. SEC's unlawful targeting of digital asset industry challenged in new lawsuit from startup, I don't know how to pronounce that, LEJILEX, in Crypto Freedom Alliance of Texas, CFAT. The CFAT argues that purchasing limited edition Nike shoes with the expectations that Nike will continue to market those shoes would constitute an investment contract under the SEC interpretation of the Howey test as applied to digital assets, and the CFAT is 100% correct. The SEC use of Howey with respect to digital assets is stretched so far that almost anything could be considered a security. Obviously, this is not what was intended by the framers of the Securities Act in 1933. Securities were intended to be a very distinct class of assets. In the coming days, I will be proposing some material reforms to our securities laws based on common sense principles, including the following. And before I read off what Jimmy Valley is going to propose, this is the point I've been trying to make. This wasn't about just an XRP buyback. This wasn't about looking at models of XRP being at a high price. This was about the abuse of the SEC and the bureaucracy beast. This is about putting up a defense on behalf of American investors, not just invested in XRP, but trying to restore the gold standard of capital markets in this country, God willing. Please, can we just have a level playing field? Nobody who is legitimate wants to skirt the securities laws. We just want to know what we're working with and when something is a security and when it isn't. And we've completely exposed them. And this is why it's so unfortunate that Jimmy has had to take so much crap and misunderstanding and confusion, because all these narratives have gotten spun up instead of just having a conversation as we did, right? We had a conversation with you. I had him on. Let's explain this. It's called a 50,000 buyback proposal by all these sensationalists on Twitter and TikTok. But when you actually read the proposal and you listen to the intent behind Jimmy and everybody else that was in a group that was trying to stay organized, right? What was it? Defend American investors against the SEC. This is bigger than XRP. This is bigger than just investing in our capital markets. This is about saving our country. And the XRP community is making a dent. We now have John Deaton stepping up. He's been leading the charge on the legal battlefield, and now he's stepping up and standing up against Elizabeth Warren. This is all tied together, folks. Ripple spending $200 million on their behalf in this lawsuit. So when we go to start tallying up the damages done, we start with $200 million that Ripple's had to spend. Now, let me know in the comments down below, what if the damage has been done to you, right? Have you had to sell XRP off? Maybe don't share details, I guess, but have you felt or been impacted by the damages of the SEC? Let me know in the comments down below. I would argue if you hold XRP and you didn't get to see XRP go achieve a new all-time high like every other crypto in the space, then that was some damage is done. And so we got to have this conversation, not just about XRP, about restoring capital markets, not about a buyback, but about saving our country. Not about anything crazy, about having accountability for these government agents that are attacking good American businesses and entrepreneurs. Do you want to save this country or not? And all I have found from Jimmy is just let's stand for law and order in this country. Let's read the securities laws. And Jimmy's a securities expert. He's done billions of dollars worth of deals, billion-dollar transactions. Jimmy doesn't play around. This is not a hype sensationalism play around topic. This is serious damage is done. And if we don't put up a resistance, our country's done. This is just one chapter in the complete story. If we don't put up a fight, we're done. The opportunity's gone forever. Now, specifically talking about the securities laws, this is what Jimmy wants to propose now for the SEC. In the coming days, I will be proposing some material reforms to our securities laws based on common sense principles, including the following: broad access to the private capital markets, including investors that are accredited based on knowledge and not just wealth. Simplification of disclosure requirements for public companies. Plain English and short form filings. That would be nice. Digital asset securities adoption of Hester Pierce token safe harbor. I like how he tagged Hester Pierce. This is how we apply a little bit of pressure and get something done. And I should probably follow Hester Pierce and make sure that we're watching what she has to say. One of the good, guys, one of the good gals, but talks nice. Let's get something done here. I'm glad to see that Jimmy's putting this forward. And clarification of when a digital asset is a digital asset security, the new favorite term of Gary Gensler and the SEC, and increasing penalties for fraud in the American capital markets, mandatory jail time for intentional violations of 10b-5 and insider trading, potential life imprisonment for violations that result in over $1 billion as losses to stockholders, FTX, Enron, market manipulation, etc., and treason. Oh boy, now you're turning me on here. Treason for financially benefiting directly or indirectly from foreign sources when taking actions that damage the investing public under the color of law. Jimmy knows his stuff, guys. I'm telling you, he's got receipts. He's got it all lined up. Unlawful targeting of digital asset industry challenged in new lawsuit from startup, whatever they are. And then we have the Crypto Freedom Alliance of Texas. Love to see it. And I retweeted this out. This is what we need to continue to do, folks. It is free to share this out. It is, something to consider, right? We send John Deaton a little bit of campaign contributions just to show how powerful our army is. And then we continue to share the message, getting the word out. I retweet him, and Jimmy responds, with respect to opening up access to the private capital markets, I will propose that anyone that passes the Securities Industry Essentials exam, the SIE, will be deemed to be accredited for all purposes under the securities laws. The current wealth test to be deemed accredited is completely outdated and inconsistent with the current capital markets. We will also be teaching the SIE exam essentials to all members of the Vol Hill Vault for free. Really? For free, he's going to be helping to teach everybody about the SIE exam essentials to all members of the Vol Hill Vault in order to assist everyone that has a desire to become accredited. We, the people, must now do the work that the SEC has willfully failed to do. That's what inspired me to bring up this video that I'd been sitting on and marinating and letting stew. And I think that I was ready to present it after seeing that Jimmy's getting this going again and that he's not let up in his fight. And I'm not going to be letting up in my fight. And John Deaton isn't letting up in his fight. And there's plenty others. I don't need to go down the whole list. We're not talking a few others. We're not talking about hundreds, thousands. We're talking about, 75,000 that signed John Deaton's deal. But you can see, we're talking millions of people, and you want to broaden it out to the American people that are just fed up with this nonsense. We're talking about tens of millions and more that are ready to see change in this country, significant change and accountability for those that are just holding up the common man or woman. And then on the other side of the equation, we got rampant inflation. So yeah, we get handouts, we get student loan forgiveness, but on the back end, God forbid, you try to just have a business. God forbid you try to work and operate with digital assets like Ripple did. You try to be transparent in an effort of being completely open with the regulators, taking meetings with them, and they turn around and sue you. So the reason why I titled this XRP damages worth $500 billion is this. We saw in the last bull run, 2021, Bitcoin went up about 3 times from the previous all-time high of 2017, from 20,000 to 69,000. It's about a 3x, right? We saw that Ethereum did about a 3.5x, okay? So a little bit better than Bitcoin, about a 3.5x. And so if XRP were to do a 3.5x at the time of the last bull run, what I did is I went back and I took a snapshot on November 10th, 2021, so I could get an idea of the circulating supply of XRP. And I'll show you right here that it was 47 billion was the circulating supply of XRP at the time. Right here. 47 billion circulating supply. XRP was at $1.19, and this is when Bitcoin was at 64,995. The main point I was just trying to get was an approximate on the circulating supply, 47 billion. If XRP only went to about $2, we all know that, what would have happened if it would have been allowed to run? And it achieved a 3.5x similar to Ethereum. We would, and I'm taking an all-time high of just $3. I'm keeping the math extra simple and conservative. Like I said at the very beginning of this episode, I'm going to use conservative assumptions and basic math. If you look, and if XRP was able to 3.5 times its previous all-time high, you're looking at $10.50 from a $3 price, right? $3 to $10.50, circulating supply of 47 billion tokens. What's our market cap? 493.5 billion. So if we stay conservative with our assumptions, if we use basic math, we come to nearly $500 billion. And as we noted, we can add another 200 million on for Ripple's legal fees. And who knows, by now it might have grown to 200 million plus. But let's be conservative with our assumptions. So we have 493 billion, and let's add on 200 million, we have 700 million. So we are pretty dang close to $500 billion worth of damages. Also consider, how many partnerships did Ripple lose because of this lawsuit? We can highlight the MoneyGram one as a perfect example. And there's many more that we don't even know about. But you start to put this whole thing together with conservative assumptions and basic math, and this is why this might, to me, in my opinion, it's not a question, it's a definite. This is the financial story of the century. It's not just the XRP Unleashed documentary that's going to be made about this. I think there's going to be many more. I think that this moment in time is going to be looked back on history for a very, very long time. When you look at not just the damages done to the XRP community, when you look at Ripple's business, although it was held back, it was still able to grow outside of the US. So, although damages were felt, they still pushed through. The story of the entire army and community. And this is why the victory for us is going to be so sweet. And there's, of course, going to be people in the comments on this video. As I'm recording this live, I'm sure there's comments right now saying that XRP will never go to $10, that XRP will never go to all-time high, that XRP is never going to have its day. Oh, you're just coping, bro. Cry me, whatever they're going to say. And when you have conservative assumptions, when we go into price discovery and finally break out, we're no longer suppressed. We need to play catch up. So I would argue that to go to $5 to $10 price range is just to play catch up. then from where we go from there gets even more exciting. But just playing catch up, I mean, I'm happy to get a 10x, a 20x from today's prices. Granted, I've been able to dollar cost average in at prices lower than today's price. Thank God. And when this thing goes to even just a conservative price, we're talking significant gains made. But we literally didn't make these. And one of the reasons is in fact the damages done to Ripple and the XRP community with this lawsuit. They didn't just put a cloud over Ripple, they put a cloud over the entire XRP community, all the exchanges that delisted it. All of this took liquidity away. All of this suppressed XRP. And you still see narratives today. See, not only did they suppress this last bull run, we didn't get to go achieve an all-time high, but it's maintained a price level. It's gone back below where many people bought in. Now, we all make our own investment decisions, and we need to be accountable for those, right? I'm not here to make an excuse in that regard for anybody, right? We bought in for XRP for whatever reason it may be, But the end of the story here is that we would have at least seen, conservatively, a 2 to 3x of the all-time high in 2018, January, which was about $3 for XRP, depending on who you ask, which exchange you talk to or pull data from. It's about $3. So we would have easily done a $6, and that's equivalent to about 300 billion in market cap based off that assumption, 47 billion circulating. It's about 300 billion in market cap at just about a $6 price. I was doing the math before I fired up this live show just to make sure I had my simple math dialed in. But if we were to do a 3x, you're talking about going up to 9, 3.5 is 1050, which is what Ethereum did. But what's interesting to note is that XRP outperformed Ethereum in the 2017-2018 bull run by a lot. So if XRP wouldn't have had a cloud over it, would it have outperformed Ethereum again in the 2020-2021 bull run? I think it would have. So that's why I'm saying conservative assumptions, basic math. Explain to me how this is not hundreds of billions worth of damages. This is hundreds of billions worth of damages, not including what Ripple. I don't know how much that's held back their business. They're a company that's making billions of dollars, and they could have been making tens of billions or even more. And seeing XRP just go to a few bucks sends their bag of XRP, right? Even with what do they have right now, right? Even when they had 50, let's just use simple math. Even when they had 50 billion in the escrow, right? At $1, right? You have a $50 billion bag in your escrow. At $2, you have a $100 billion bag, right? And when you have a $10 XRP, I mean, you see where this goes. This is simple math, basic and conservative assumptions, and we're literally talking easily hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damages done to the community, including Ripple. And that's the important part to understand. Why it's important to keep putting up a fight is because it was done to the community too. This is not just Ripple's fight. And this is why Brad Garlinghouse calls out the XRP army specifically, is because he knows it's been a community effort. And the power and the momentum behind our community, I can't wait for this thing to just go back to $1 so that we'd stop all the infighting and drama and bickering and crying and whining. You get back to $1 and $1.20, and most people that hold XRP are going to be back to even. There's some people that bought $2 XRP back in, 2017, 2018. Still holding on to that, but they've had plenty of time to dollar cost average down, right? And if they believed in it, then they probably did. But folks, I just wanted to highlight this tonight to show you guys that when we come together, when we focus on putting out positive, one thing, to put out positive content, to lift each other up. I'm not here to be, woo woo, you feel good, I feel good, cha cha cha, let's sing a little song. No, I want results and I want production. I want XRP at a higher price. Believe me, we all do. What is it going to take to get there? Well, I'll tell you what, right now, my role is not to develop. My role is not to play on a computer. You guys know I can barely put a live show together with how slow I am with the technology. My word is to help get the word out, or my job is to help get the word out. And that's what I'm going to continue to do every single day. And I'm still going to talk about this. And no, my red folder hasn't gone away. The red folder's still growing. It's evolving. And now we've got the ETHgate whistleblower. I still got we're going to still cover that. I haven't had time to read the Joseph Lubin recording that Stephen Arioff dropped a few weeks ago. I just have been busy. I haven't been able to get to that. But I mean, when you talk about damage is done too, consider this. Damage is done to the XRP community and profits from corruption and fraud and scams on the free pass from ETHgate. And then as we've just seen with Sam Bankman-Fried as well, it's all fraud. This is the financial story of the century. And this is why I believe that we slingshot back into real value, because we don't just appeal to crypto bros. And this is how I view that XRP Unleashed documentary as well. If we were just telling the story about XRP, well, first off, if it was focused on the tech, only nerds would care. No offense to the nerds and the techies. I can be kind of nerdy sometimes too. I mean, I'm deep in this. So no offense to the nerdies and the techies, but if it was about tech, almost no one would watch. Like, very few people are into that. If it was just about XRP, even a smaller, a little bit bigger group, but it would still be small, people would watch. If it were just telling the story about XRP. What brings in a larger audience is the ability to connect on the corruption that everybody sees in our government, that everybody wants to expose, the accountability that we're all demanding. That's where you draw in the millions upon millions of people that our message is going to now reach out to. This is what I'm focused on. How do we lift each other up? What business are you building? Drop in the comments. Everybody show your business. Let's go into Q&A. Show your business and let me know what you do as well. Or, and even if you're not building on the XRPL, right? We want to, and many people, and myself included, want to start building on the XRPL. How am I supposed to build on the XRPL when the most prominent company building on the XRPL is getting sued and paying $200 million in legal fees? I can't afford $200 million in legal fees. And so this is why we're so excited with the legal clarity we're now getting. I know people don't want to hear that the lawsuit's going to maybe drag out till this summer. It might drag out even further. I know people don't want to hear that, okay? But upon the conclusion and the clarity that we'll now have, that Ripple will now have, and their institutional partners will now have, it's time to start flipping switches that actually matter, i.e., not me and you, Joe Blow, going to play around with a little DeFi, make a little meme, build a little NFT. No, we're talking about institutional DeFi moving trillions of dollars. Ripple's already started to move tens of billions using on-demand liquidity. And we're all about to have, we already have clarity on the secondary market. We're about to have clarity on, Ripple's ability to sell to their partners. And what this means is that we're going to be going live in the United States, and the XRP ledger, as I've noted in the videos today, is finally going live with a little bit more DeFi. We finally got NFTs. We were late to that. We're finally getting an AMM. We're late to that. We're finally getting a cross-chain bridge. But it works. It doesn't go down. The network just continues running. And yes, we don't have hooks. Can hooks be brought back? Can you settle a smart contract on hooks? Bring it back to the XRPL using that the XLS38D cross-chain bridge? Absolutely. Are we going to be able to settle any EVM smart contract utilizing the EVM sidechain, settling with XRP as a gas token? Yes. And all of the DeFi that's about to explode in this, for most people, they don't even know what DeFi is. Don't care what DeFi is. All they're going to want to do is to earn 5% yield on the exchange. The exchange will offer, they'll be running banners. They're going to bring out everything. They'll be running whole marketing campaigns. We'll match we'll match, invest in your first liquidity pool and we'll give you 100 XRP. They're going to be giving away crypto to get you to invest through them into the AMMs and different DeFi products, right? Now, that's great. For a lot of people, they don't know how to do self-custody. They don't know how to use the DEX on the XRPL. They don't know there's a DEX on the XRPL. The biggest benefit to the XRPL that we've had first, before everybody else, decentralized exchange, and half the XRP community really doesn't even know what it is. And most don't use it. Myself included, I don't really use it that much either. I mean, I use it from time to time, but there's very few tokens on the XRPL that I hold outside of XRP. And I don't own any NFTs on the XRPL. And when the AMM comes, I am going to sacrifice some of my XRP and some of the issued assets that I own on the XRPL just so that I can report back and let you guys know if I'm making money or losing money on the AMM. And so this is the unique position that I believe XRP finds itself in, and Stellar. I dropped an update on Stellar smart contracts, just came in yesterday as well. So we have Stellar smart contracts on mainnet that just got voted in, and we're finally getting an AMM on the XRPL. Both ledgers are late to the game on some of these features, but they're doing it right. They're doing it in a way that doesn't break it. They're doing a phased roll-in approach on XLM Stellar Network. That's the right way to do it. Now, let's take some questions here, comments. We'll take a few. How are you guys doing here tonight? I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Big session tonight. If you guys can do me a favor by smashing the thumbs up and sharing it out far and wide, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. What are we working with, guys? Let's do rapid fire. Pay your bills in XRP. Yeah, I mean, many people aren't going to use their XRP because they think that it's going to go to a lot higher value. So they're not going to use it for everyday transactions right now. They're not going to use it to buy NFTs. They're not going to use it to buy tokens on the XRPL. I understand the frustration of many projects on the XRPL that want people to start using their XRP, but there's a significant portion of the population, myself included, that treats XRP like a reserve currency on my balance sheet that I'm not interested in selling ever. It's just, it's never going to leave. I'm sorry. It's gone forever. The only way that it'll be used is it'll be used as collateral or leveraged by me at some point, or by my children at some point. Property. Oh, look at that one. Property, I appreciate you. I can't see the rest of your name, Property, but thank you for that massive 50 spot. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you appreciate the update. What's up, Peaky? What's up? What's up? You guys are dropping comments quick. Keep them coming, folks. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's do some Q&A. Yeah. Yep. You forgot opportunity lost from not being able to benefit from our gains. Exactly. I mean, it just compounds. The damages just compound. And I wanted to finish on this point too, and we'll keep the Q&A going. But I'm not here to have a pity party, right? And just sit around here and cry about it, right? I want to put up a defense on one end, and I'm still seeking other opportunities on the other end, and I'm still stacking more of the asset as well, because I believe that we've had the facts on our side, and now the light's about to shine on us with full clarity. We've always had the truth, we've always had the facts, and now we're finally getting utility. We're going to have something real nice cooking on that XRPL. Poncho Hernandez says, Zach, I'm so glad I heard of you when you came on Good Morning Crypto. I wake up to Good Morning Crypto and now catch you in the eve. Thanks. That's what we do. That's why we still go live here on the late night sessions. Usually that's because I have so much stuff that I want to get out. And I already dropped 2 videos today. I'll drop a couple more videos tomorrow, I'm sure. But the lives are just so that I can get out the rest of this information as well. Right? It's happening so quick these days. I feel like I could run, we could run a CNN 24/7 news outlet these days with how much is going out. I mean, it's incredible. I need to get a 1 or 2 other co-hosts, and we can just rotate speakers 24/7. Zach is on point about not selling it and leveraging it in the future. You know, this is the thing. I don't want to pay taxes to this government. And I say that, I will tell everybody right now, right, that I pay my taxes. I pay my fair share. I guess it's a fair share. That's what they say by their own rules. I make sure to follow the rules. I pay my taxes, but I don't like doing it. And I try to make sure that I can keep as much of my own money legally as possible, working with my accountants and professionals to do so. And I encourage everybody else to get tapped in on that as well. If you need help in that regard, please, we would love to help you. Just go to my website, zachrector.com, and get in touch with us. Shane, massive. Shane, big 50 spot. You guys are coming in heavy tonight. I appreciate you guys so much. You got the logic. Thanks for all the sound info. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. We just try to keep the energy coming heavy right now to match the enemy and their agenda. And we got I swear, there's something to this whole moon astrology, crazy woo-woo. I don't get too woo-woo, but there's some woo-woo happening. I swear that full moon frequencies got everybody going crazy this week. I don't know if you guys are seeing that as well, but it's crazy out there. Will the SEC be held accountable for the losses? Well, we're going to see. This is a lawsuit from Texas that we're seeing now. That's going to be another one to watch. And there's going to be, there's plenty of legal battles. I was talking with Jimmy about this, and I said, I grew up watching sports, and I never thought that I thought I was going to be a sports broadcaster. I thought I was going to be analysis for sports on ESPN or something. I grew up as a kid. I'd sit there with my little coffee cup filled with water, and I'd give my family a show for sports. That's what I did. I'd wake up before school, and I'd watch Sports Center, so I was up to date on all the sports. And now I've transitioned into covering financial markets, current events, and now I'm tuning in, calling in, and listening to court cases and reading legal documents, right? Quite the change of events. But as I was saying with Jimmy, we're in the right place at the right time on the right mission. It's never been more clear. Our purpose has never been more clear in front of us as what we're supposed to be doing during this time. And this is organizing a resistance of good men and women against these tyrants, against this agenda that's just not the life that most of us want, And we don't have to agree on every single issue, but most of us agree on just provide us with a level playing field. Let's just have peace and provide us with a level playing field. We don't need handouts. We don't need anybody else to take care of us. Just let us bring value to the marketplace as we see fit. And if the marketplace doesn't like the value, if they don't find the value, then that will be reflected. And the market is great at weeding out the bad actors, about cleaning up the market. It self-cleanses itself very effectively when you don't have the Federal Reserve and the central bankers manipulating every aspect of the market. Full moon energy is crazy. When I bartend, I live by the moon. Calendar's full moon was guaranteed blood sport. Peaky, there you go. There's so many people that say stories like that, right? Shoot. The only indicator that I put on my charts for the last couple years trading, right? I don't look at moving averages. I don't look at anything other than I would throw up the moon phases. And for some reason, there was a pattern that Bitcoin was following. And that was pretty incredible. It still is. This is why we've been watching and calling these crazy events around the eclipse. For whatever reason, around these eclipses, we've had significant price action. Another massive one from Shannon, $27.99 of the Canadian funny money. I guess we'll take it, Shannon. I appreciate and love you so much, Shannon. It was so good to see you in Vancouver. So much fun up there with you and Randy, and man, up there with the crazy commodity speculators. What a fun time. Can't wait for XRP Vegas. Did it get to connect with everyone once again? The energy is going to be so strong, so powerful. Even if XRP's at the price as it is right now, God, please, if we could just be a little bit higher. If XRP's at $1 for XRP Vegas, it's going to be a riot. Now, I'm not even going to throw out this scenarios. If XRP was at an all-time high, I don't know. Vegas, we might shut it down. We'd be paying to put XRP on the sphere. That's what we need to do. We got to put XRP on the sphere. XRP community going crazy in Vegas. Deaton Rector 2024. Well, Sauce. Actually, how old do you have to be vice president? You got to be 35 to be president. So I still have a ways to go for that. And I'm not considering it at this time. Okay. Politics for me is something that I'll do probably in my 60s. I don't see myself running when I'm younger, and that's why I like the idea of term limits. I hesitate on age limits because sometimes I feel like I know and listen to folks that are 65, 70 years old that are still sharp as ever. And I think that, if you go into politics later after you've made all your money, then you can't be bought and paid for. That's what I like to see, right? The folks that enter with a net worth of nothing and leave with a net worth of $100 million, well, gee, I wonder who they were representing while they were serving us, right? That's why I'm going to save myself, right? I got to make some generational wealth, and then we'll be talking about maybe doing politics. Yeah, I still will be heavily involved, though. Still will be heavily involved, absolutely, and still going to talk about it. Still going to put up a fight. So I will be in the fight in that regard, and we definitely got support behind John Deaton. Anything that we can do to help John, you already know the deal. Peaky, oh gosh, Peaky. I can't say that name. The Dark Horse. Now, we covered it last night. Thank you for the 5 spot. I appreciate you, Peaky. David destroying XRP FUD. James Wallace, VP of Central Bank Engagement, destroying XRP FUD. Brooks and Twiesel, destroying XRP FUD. Brad Garlinghouse, destroying XRP FUD. It was a party of destroying XRP FUD last night in the live show. And by the way, guys, I'm sorry for running late last night. I've tried to set out a schedule. You can bank on me coming live. You guys know sometimes I do come a little bit late, but I'm trying to stick to this schedule, and I want to be predictable. And what I'm setting right now is Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then Saturdays are going to be 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. And our Discord weekly calls, which are for our exclusive community, are still going to be at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 Eastern in the morning on Saturday. That's when we have our Discord weekly call. If you want access, go to my website, sign up through Patreon to get access to Discord. And then the live schedule is going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Okay? And I'm going to try to stick to that. And then obviously, like tonight, I'm still going to go live other nights as well, because we just keep putting out that content that, we're breaking it down every single day for you guys. And sometimes we got to drop a couple shorts. Sometimes we got to go live on TikTok. By the way, I've been doing some TikTok lives over there, old school. So for the community that's been here for 3 years now, I didn't start on YouTube until about the end of 2021 into 2022. And that was 1 year. I started February 2021 doing TikTok. And we ran it up hard on TikTok. And we're going to go back to our roots, some old school sessions over there on TikTok, because there's a whole new wave of new people. But other than that, the live schedule, I'm just trying to provide some consistency for you guys. And I'm trying to get some consistency in my life now that we are starting to get a little bit more dialed in here as a family. You guys know that struggle. Don't sleep on the Aqua. Crypto Poor, I did pick up some Aqua, full disclosure. You guys know me. I'll let you know if I pick something up. Not financial advice, not a signal. I've barely even researched it, to be honest. I know the general story. I need to do a deep dive, but I did buy a little bit Aqua, and I've loaded up a little bit of Stronghold, and then obviously I've held XLM for a very long time. I've traded out of XLM a couple times, actually, taking profits. Shannon says, thanks for keeping us informed and dial in. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Stronghold $3. It's crazy how high the Stronghold community is saying that it's about to go. There's folks that are saying that Stronghold's going to $10. It's just like, this is crypto, right? I don't know why I would be surprised. For me, okay, here's the deal. You guys already know that I covered Stronghold once. I've covered it a couple times since in my videos and on Twitter and in my Discord group. We've talked about it a couple times. And I've aired out my concerns. But what's interesting about my concerns is the amount of supply that's being held by the Stronghold Pay company, right? Concerns me. It's about 80-90% of the supply is still held by them. There's no escrow feature like there is with Ripple and XRP. There is a timeline and a story that they've given us, but I'm still building my trust with them. Okay. And that is a concern. But on the other side, it's actually part of the opportunity. There's only 5 billion tokens in circulation, give or take. I'm not here to be exact. There's about 5 billion tokens in circulation for Stronghold, which if that remains about the same, right? and we enter this next bull run, right now we're at a $50 million market cap. That's what we would consider a low cap gem, right? Only 50 million market cap. This thing can grow pretty substantially and get pretty exciting. And we've already seen that it did go to about a 4 or 5 cent price back at its all-time high in 2021. So I'm very interested to see how Stronghold performs this bull run. I think that the predictions for, $1, $3, $5 Stronghold are exciting. I'm not going to be negative because I don't want folks to get upset. This is why I'm always careful when I talk about coins because, I don't want people to get confused. I'm not afraid to say that 99% of the crypto space is crap. Definitely not afraid to say that, but I just try to be clear when I do bring up legitimate concerns about projects, a project that I did invest in, right? I'm just getting on, is XRP in trouble? No, XRP is fantastic. By the way, guys, I showed you the chart on NVIDIA, but I meant to show you the rest of the charts here as well, too. So the whole market ticked back up, and that was after hours. We saw Bitcoin go back up to almost 52,000. Kind of cooled back off since, but that green candle came in as the NVIDIA earnings dropped and the entire market went back up, including Ethereum got a little bump back up, kind of cooling back off, and the same thing happened for XRP. Now, what gets interesting about this, folks, I got to go back and do some more technical analysis, and I'll report back tomorrow. So make sure you guys have subscribed, hit that notification bell so you'll catch the videos tomorrow. Because in one of the videos tomorrow, I'm going to go back and look. I heard someone on Twitter say, which that's how you find every good data point, right? I heard someone on Twitter say that NVIDIA did something like this last, basically towards the peak of 2021, where it beat expectations and earnings were just fantastic, where it did a huge run up after hours, but then as the market opened back up, then it folded back over, and actually that was the moment that the stocks entered into a correction through 2022. So I'm going to be interested to go back and look at the technical analysis, and I'll report back on that. But what I'm talking about is this NVIDIA chart just went ballistic after the earnings came out, and this is an after hours trading. So the entire market was closed. They dropped the earnings right as the market was coming to a close, and then everybody got time to digest it. And basically it dropped all the way off to 644, but then after hours, it's now up to 735 in the after hours, which is actually pretty incredible because, let me actually break this chart up even more. Yeah, this is getting interesting. I mean, this is after hours trading. 1645. That's where it closed off. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see where this thing opens up, though. But I'm going to go back and look at that technical analysis on NVIDIA because it aligns perfectly with what we've been talking about with Bill Gates, with Zuckerberg selling off, building bunkers, and then Bezos just sold off another $2 billion of Amazon, and they did that right at the top of 2021 as well. So, yeah, it was interesting. We saw that bump, whole market went up. But now Bitcoin and the crypto is starting to roll back over. I don't know if that's going to be a leading indicator of where the markets go tomorrow, but we'll be back tomorrow with more content to cover that. Any final comments, questions, guys? Appreciate everyone for stopping by. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to like this video. Appreciate you, Peaky. Appreciate you, brother. Should Ripple burn 50% of the XRP in escrow because they failed to distribute it to banks and institutions as per their plan? I just had a most delicious... Yeah. Good question. First off, I don't believe that they've failed. They've been slowed down. And I covered this in the video earlier. Make sure you guys check those out. We have the Stellar update and the XRPL update. And I talked about how Ripple, they didn't pivot from payments. They're expanding. They've gone from a few hundred employees to 1,000 almost, and they're still hiring. So they can take on more tasks, and they're buying companies and making acquisitions to expand out further as well. So they're not just a payments company anymore. Now they've got custody. Now they have a trust company. Now they've bought a New York trust license. They've bought themselves a green light to custody all assets in New York. And so they've been slowed up. They have not failed. They have not pivoted. They are expanding. And they will be able to continue with the plan. And they already have, the lawsuit didn't stop them because they've still been selling to institutional partners. Now, they've all been outside the United States, but they'll be able to start selling to U.S. institutional partners after this lawsuit concludes. So Ripple has not failed, and they will be able to continue distributing XRP to institutional partners. We'll see if they start to fire up sales directly to exchanges once again. We'll see if they fire back up programmatic sales. The judge ruled that that wasn't a security investment contract, so they would be well within the law and their right to do so. They haven't been doing that. They haven't started that ever since the July ruling, right? They already could have started programmatic sales, but they haven't. Maybe they're waiting for the full lawsuit to conclude, and that's yet to be seen. But regardless, I've reflected my opinion. They are being responsible custodians of the world reserve digital currency, and they're doing an effective job of distributing it to people that matter. And this is including institutions outside the U.S. for now, while the lawsuit's going on. And what's left to decide in this case from Judge Torres is when Ripple changed their ODL contracts after the lawsuit, Ripple is saying that they changed how those contracts were structured. They no longer are investment contracts. Then that means that they've already figured out how to keep selling XRP to institutions. And so now we're going to have institutions that will no longer be scared after this part gets settled up. And if Judge Torres says all the post-complaint sales aren't included in this lawsuit, in this claim, then Ripple has the green light. Institutions that want XRP have the green light, and it's off to the races. And they've already got significant growth outside of the US. Now we're about to see them experience growth inside the US. This is a whole new reality, not just for Ripple, but for the XRP community as well, with the additional utilities that are coming to the XRP ledger for us all to use, not just Ripple. And as I've been saying, in my opinion, the AMM is the secret sauce to the decentralized exchange built in the XRPL. And everyone in the community should look forward to having legal clarity, to seeing Ripple flip the switch in the US, and to having DeFi and utility coming to the XRPL. It's the perfect place to be in as we enter this next bull run and this next upswing in the liquidity cycle. I'm very excited to see where XRP goes from here. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys are thinking these days, and make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. We will be back tomorrow with some more content. I appreciate everyone for stopping by. God bless you all. Thank you so much.